Which just seems so insane based on what he ran on. I mean, this is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
Well, but he said he's against endless wars.
Well, they're
running against endless wars.
Listen, man, they're all endless.
I know. Why more Joe Rogan? I'll tell you why. Because no one aided Donald Trump in the final weeks of his presidential run more than that guy. So to hear him articulate regret and remorse is something. Hi again, everybody. It's now 5 o'clock in New York. Cause and effect. Go about an historic betrayal of your own political coalition, including Joe Rogan, and watch them reject you publicly. But that emphatic disassociation with Donald Trump's war in Iran isn't just a Joe Rogan thing. It isn't just happening in the manosphere. It appears to be a whole of American culture thing. Consider one slice of this story in particular, the garish and grotesque montages published on social media by the White House lately. The most recent, a video of bombs dropping in Iran, spliced with big hits from the NFL, including Hall of Famers Ed Reed and Ray Lewis. It's video we wouldn't normally show you here, but we do because of the outrage around the videos and the corners it's coming from, all corners of American life. From the Huffington Post, quote, a representative for Ray Lewis confirmed to the Huff Post that the White House did not reach out to him or his team for the video. Quote, I did not approve my image or football highlights being used to compare football to war, Lewis said in a statement to HuffPost. Quote, the game I love is about discipline, brotherhood, and respect. War is something entirely different. Lives are at stake. God bless our troops and their families. Ed Reed, on the other hand, posted simply, quote, I do not approve this message, end quote. In similar fashion, the White House cut up real-life drone strike footage with movie scenes, including Tropic Thunder. That film's director, Ben Stiller, replied like this, quote, hey, White House, please remove the Tropic Thunder clip. We never gave you permission and have no interest in being part of your propaganda machine. War is not a movie, end quote. Outside of podcast world and Hollywood, the Archbishop of Chicago amplified that message as well in a statement that read in part, quote, our government is treating the suffering of the Iranian people as a backdrop for our own entertainment, as if it's just another piece of content to be swiped through while we're waiting in line at the grocery store. But in the end, we lose our humanity when we are thrilled by the destructive power of our military. We become addicted to the spectacle of explosions, and the price of this habit is almost unnoticeable as we become desensitized to the true costs of war. But the longer we remain blind to the terrible consequences of war, the more we are risking the most precious gift God gave us, our humanity. I know that the American people are better than this. We have the good sense to know that what is happening is not entertainment, but war, and that Iran is a nation of people, not a video game others play to entertain us. The broad scope of America's pushback is no surprise, taking into account what the New York Times published this week, the historic unpopularity associated with Donald Trump's war in Iran compared to other conflicts over a number of decades. That is where we start the hour. President of Media Matters for America, Angelo Carusone, is here. Also joining us, senior contributing editor Michelle Norris. And with me at the table, hot off a fantastic turn on Stephen Colbert's program, Paul Rieckhoff is here. He's the host of the Independent Americans podcast and the founder and CEO of Independent Veterans of America. I want to ask you what you think of these condemnations of the efforts to market the war.
It's really important. It's a breaking point, I think, and it might be even something better. In every crisis, there's an opportunity. This might be the most unifying moment that we can remember in America.
You are never positive. You're blowing my mind right now. This is not what I thought you were going to say.
And I think, there is a lot of death and destruction, and this is very, very bad. But there's also a moment happening where you lost Joe Rogan. You definitely don't want to piss off Ray Lewis and Ed Reed on any level, right? Newt Gingrich.
Explain why. Explain why that's so powerful.
Because it's so many different segments, and they have so much reach that goes beyond politics. Right? When you're talking about...
Well, that's totally the other side of our civic life.
Yeah,
right?
And people who are trusted, right? Like people trust Ray Lewis. He won a Super Bowl, right? You've got people, even Newt Gingrich today, right? It's an entire spectrum of people from all political backgrounds who are saying no to this war in Iran and no to boots on the ground and no to more. And I think it's important because it comes right after the stunning lack of popularity around ICE. So it's like a 1-2 punch that's crossing all different partisan backgrounds. And I think it can be a moment for the country to come together, if not around Trump specifically, with some of his base still has a problem with, around the war in Iran, around ICE, and around American values, because war reveals who people are. The best of you or the worst of you. And it's revealing how terrible Donald Trump is, how despicable he is, and how shameless he is. I mean, he wouldn't accept responsibility today. In that moment when they asked him, will you take responsibility? He didn't do it. And a leader's supposed to be responsible for everything we do and everything we fail to do, and the buck stops with him, and everybody can see it.
And what is it that gives people newfound confidence to reject him?
It's popular. I think that this has happened at the award shows and like the Grammys. There were these moments where people kind of broke the ice. Right. And that was important because it was tough to attack Trump. ICE was like a gateway. It was an on-ramp. They could attack ICE without saying Trump's name. And that kind of built a level of popular support. And it became popular to oppose ICE. It became popular to come out against the Iran war. And that gives people permission to enter the conversation, especially if they're only tracking on sports. And that's the real problem here, is he's crossed into sports. He's crossed into SpongeBob. He's crossed into everything. So the entire country is watching, and they don't like what they see.
Yeah, I mean, Michelle, I think that Paul hit on something really important. When the history of these times is written, two people will have put everything that we're covering today in motion. One, the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's heinous abuse, and two, the citizens of Minneapolis.
Yeah. And I do think Paul is right about this being an on-ramp, but I'm not sure that people are standing up against this because it's popular. I mean, we're at war. War is something that people take very seriously. And this White House doesn't seem to be taking this seriously. I mean, just 2 days ago, the president was calling this an excursion, which I think he probably maybe meant incursion instead of excursion. But, they're not even willing to explain this to the public. As to that video, one of the European news outlets called it slopaganda. And I think that that's a pretty good word to describe the use of these intercutting videos to turn war into some sort of game theory, the gamification of war. It does not do anything to advance the work and the effort of the soldiers that are involved in this war right now. It does nothing to project strength or discipline. It does nothing to secure the homeland here on the ground where people are very worried about their own safety and security. And let's just remember that the person who's in charge of terror threats in the Department of Homeland Security is a 23-year-old who just recently graduated from college and has worked as, I think, a gardener at some point in the past and a grocery store clerk, has no national security background. And most of the people who had national security backgrounds at the FBI have also been dismissed. So the public sees all of this. They saw what happened in Minneapolis, and they saw the value in speaking up. They saw the president take us to war without an explanation about why we're there or what the objective is or what the game plan is. And I think more and more people are willing to speak out against this. And this is, remember, this is the public opinion is low at the beginning. It has nowhere to go but down at this point. It's at historic lows.